Hello, my friends. This is Sandra Torno with Sandra Torno Art. Today we're going to paint this photograph. I took this photograph when we visited the Precious Moments Chapel in Missouri on our recent vacation, and it just amazed me at the raindrops on top of the leaf, and I wanted to give it a try as a botanical to share with you. Now, typically I sketch out my drawings for my paintings, but I do also have a light box where I can trace a photograph onto my watercolor paper. It has a light in the background. It does help a lot when I want it to be more realistic. So today I use that and I lay the um, picture on the light box, put the watercolor paper on top, and then use my Pentel pencil to lightly trace it. And I did trace the outline and the raindrops so that I could get a realistic botanical from this. Um, After I trace it, I then take a kneaded eraser and roll it over the watercolor to get as much graphite off as possible to where I can still see the lines. So let's move forward and get started on this botanical. So I'm going to add masking fluid to the top left corner of each raindrop with a bottle of masking fluid with a needle tip, which makes it real easy. When we rub this off at the end, we'll have the highlight for the raindrop. Um, I do this for every raindrop on the um, painting. I'm also using Rosemary and Company um, spotter red dot brushes, size 0, size 2, size 3, and size 6, and a scrubber brush size 2 from Royal and Langnickel. I'll have the information below on all of these items that I'm using. This is the scrubber brush I'll be using in the painting. I'll also be using A Gallo watercolor from Italy. They're an amazing brand. I get these from Jackson's Art. We'll be using three colors. We'll be using the Azo Yellow Gold, the Fig Green, and the Olive Green Deep. I've got all my colors mixed up. I've got some light hues and some medium hues and dark hues in my butcher tray here. I've taken my pipette and put a little bit of water in my tray so I can mix it. I do have 2 jars of water. I have my large jar that I always use and then a smaller jar for clean water to blend. So here I am using my number 6 to put water on the whole leaf. We're going to put our yellow as a base coat on this. And you want to go all the way out to your pencil lines. You don't want any puddles. You just want it to be very evenly distributed so that the yellow can blend out very nicely. Of course, you need to go completely over your masking fluid. It will not seep under if you've let this dry um, completely, and we won't be taking that off until the end. I have a rag for getting water out of my brush. You don't want it overly saturated with a botanical. Um, the biggest thing you can do with botanicals is have patience. It's going to take a long time to make this work, um, but you want each layer to dry so the layers don't get muddy underneath. So here I've taken my Azo yellow and blending it out throughout the leaf, and we want good coverage. Again, no puddles, but completely covered. And we're going to let this layer dry before we move on to the next. Okay, so this is dry now, and we're going to continue on. And what I want to do is the edge of the leaf. So I've got my number 3 spotter red dot, and you want to get the darker green, and we're going to go along the edge of your outline. Get a little bit of water. We're going to blend that out. And I'm going to do this process all the way around the edges of the leaf. And I'll do this for a while, and then I'll finish it off camera so you don't have to watch me. So now we're building our foundation. Different greens. You got the yellow underneath. And we continue this process all the way around. So I'm getting color, dabbing it off, getting water, and blending it out. But because I've got the little bit of water in my tray, instead of dipping it in my big bowl, you don't oversaturate your paper. You don't oversaturate your paintbrush, but you get the color on and you can blend it out. So we have veins in this leaf. So we want to make sure we get those in. I'll get a little bit more water in my pipette. Because you want contrast. So that your veins in your leaves, not leaves, there's only one, stand out, because contrast is what's going to help it stand out. And also with your raindrops, this can help as well. So minimal water. Now this leaf is large. You do not have to do one this large. That's why I'm going to be doing a lot of this off camera, so you don't have to watch me do the same thing over and over. So I'm going to stop here and I'm going to finish the edges with the green for the second coat, and then we'll come back and go to the next one. Okay, I finished the inside of the leaf with the green, and I've taken my number 6 in clean water, and I'm just doing a water glaze over this whole leaf to merge and blend these colors, so there's no hard edges, everything's mingling together and looks more realistic. And so just light water, blend all the way through the edges and the uh, colors, and then we need to let this completely dry before we move on. So now I've taken my scrubber and I'm going to work on the veins. So you wet the scrubber and dab it off on a towel, and then gently but firmly rub on the paper where the paint is, and take your towel or tissue and dab the paint off. And I'm also going around the inside edge of the outline for a highlight. So this scrubber works very well for highlights, to bring back some of the lighter areas, to help you out in doing this. So patience, just keep at it. We're going to keep uh, taking off highlights and veins. Now on the veins, we're going to do the lines which I drew in, and then here in a minute we're going to put some darker contrast on each side of these veins to help them pop out. And I'm lightening and scrubbing the outline so that we can get some different low lights and highlights. We need the outline since we're not going to necessarily do a background, which actually at the end, after I videoed this, I did end up doing a few of the yellow splatters very lightly around the leaf to make it look like some ground cover a little bit, but I didn't want a whole lot. I really wanted it all white, but I second guessed myself and ended up doing some small splatters around the leaf. So we'll continue on here again, clean water, wipe it off, um, do your scrubbing, wipe your brush off, dab off the paint. It's a slow process, and just take your time. That's the thing with botanicals. You got to enjoy the process and not get in a hurry and do it correctly so that you'll have a good outcome. So I'm following the lines that I drew in from my original leaf, and I don't want it back to the white of the paper. As you can tell, the yellow and the dark green kind of meld through this. Now, when we do the raindrops, your veins actually go through the raindrops. So we'll be working on that in just a little bit. But you don't want your vein to stop and then start again on the other side of the raindrop. It should go through the raindrop. So now I'm taking a darker green and I'm going on the edge of the white that I just took out, and I'm going to go on both sides of the white, and what this is going to do is make it look like a raised vein in the leaf with the contrast of the dark green with the white and then the actual leaf. It just makes everything pop. Now I'm going to end up putting this on a panel board and putting cold wax on it, and that cold wax is really going to make this pop and color even more. So you put the dark green, darker green in, wipe off your brush, get clean water, blend it in very nicely, bringing it down along the edge and blending it into the other colors underneath. And we're going to do this along all the veins. Um, I won't do them all on camera because, again, the process is the same, and I'm sure you don't want to watch me do each and every step of this. You get the idea. And then we'll need to let this um, dry before we go to the next step. Key to these botanicals is blending and letting each layer dry so you don't get mud. As long as your area is dry, you should get a good blend, and the water glaze helps too, which I'll do again here in a little bit. But with the water glaze, it just blends all those colors very nicely together. So you see your light tones, your midtones, and your dark tones as we're moving forward. Really, the only reason why I traced this was so that I could get the veins and the raindrops good. So the veins are done, they pop out. I'm very happy with it. It's dry, so we can move on to the next step. So now we're working on the raindrops. And what you want to do is, I call it a smiley face. You need a smiley face in each raindrop at the bottom of the raindrop. The smiley face should be in the same position, just like the highlight in every raindrop, because of the refractions and reflections of the way the sun is shining. They will all be identical. Now I am using the scrubber. I originally tried to use my number 6 and it was just too slow of a process, so I cut that part out and I went and used my scrubber, which was a game changer. Clean water, pat it off, put your little smiley face in, pat off the paint. And the reason you want to keep patting the paintbrush to the tissue, because you have paint on your paintbrush. And if you keep using it, you're going to be blending that paint back in. So we're trying to get it off. So, so you may ask, well, why didn't we just mask these smiley faces? Well, we wanted color of the leaf underneath the smiley face. We didn't want it white like a sun reflection. Now we're working on the reflection of the leaf coming up underneath the raindrop. So I'm going to finish these off and we'll move forward. And now we're working on the top part, and you want a darker part up here. You're going to blend it in and you're going to bring it down about halfway into the raindrop. And we're going to do this all the way through. Now it needs to have a contrast. It needs to be darker. The top part is darker. You go on your pencil line, which will actually hide that, and blend it out. And if you go too far out or you make a mistake, just use your scrubber and scrub that off. Now, right now, we're going to go over all the veins, but in a minute, we're going to actually scrub out the vein inside the raindrops so we can see it go through. So I like to do darker, lighter midtones in the raindrops. If they're all the same color, to me, they're a little boring. Um, you don't want them to look like stenciled raindrops. You want them to be have a little character, like the one in the top left. I put another the highlight, like a long highlight on there, and I'm just working between my number two, my scrubber, and my number 0. Okay, now I have all of my whites defined, my darker above the raindrops defined. I blended everything, dried everything, um, went back and made a few adjustments on using my scrubber and getting my little smile back. So what does that leave? That leaves the shadow underneath the raindrop. And then we'll be done with the raindrop. So I've got my number 3. I made some darker green. So what we can do is we can actually take our brush and wet under the raindrop. Blend it out. And where the veins are, you want to kind of leave them alone. Okay, I've got my 3. I'm going to change to my 0. You can always tell when something just doesn't feel right. So put it on. You want to blend it out. So you want it dark near the white part, and then blend it out from there. Okay, right here, this is too dark. So we're going to take the scrubber, scrub that off. You just want a shadow. That's why scrubbers are amazing. There. Okay, let's try this again. Less paint. Start at the middle. And come down. You can do 2 or 3 at a time. If it gets away from you, just use your brush and sop it up. So darker on the edge, halfway. Bring your little shadow down. This should be dark around the white smiley face we did. It should be dark at the top. Now we still have the masking fluid we're going to be taking off. So that's going to give us the bright highlight of the sun. So this one here, it doesn't look like I did the smiley face. So I'm using the scrubber. And I've got a little bit dark in there that I can scrub off. way too much water. Just dab it off. So like I told you, on the veins, we want to leave some of the vein. So I'm going to use my scrubber. Wherever it went, here it is. Get that back in. Clean some of this up. So it looks like our vein is going through our shadow. So that one's good, except I need a little bit more dark. Right on the edge. It's a fine balance. But you can look at it and see, oh yeah, that's right. Oh no, that's not right. You can tell. So darker at the bottom, like right here. This actually needs to come further down. Then I'm going to scrub out the smile. Clean that up a little bit. Blend this out. Okay, we're rocking along. So I'm going to turn this off and finish up. And we'll come back and do a few touch-ups and remove the masking fluid, and we should be done. Okay, here we are, and I have finished the painting. So I went through, and everything's dry. I went through and did my shadows under all of the raindrops. I highlighted some black, or not black, but the olive green deep to give me some contrast on the top and the bottom. Then I removed the masking fluid, which brought the highlights out. Now I lost a few, so I took just a dab of gouache, white gouache, and filled in a couple where I had lost. I've got to clean this up right here. I just about overworked this right here. I didn't like that, excuse me, raindrop here at the bottom, and I couldn't get it to work right. Finally did, but it's a little overworked, but I blended some yellow down in here I've got to clean up, but I can do that. But that is it. So The Botanical, oh, one last thing, I did go through and redefine some darks in my veins and made sure that there was, I took the scrubber and made sure there was lines through the raindrops um, that were on here, because the lines would show underneath the rain or through the raindrops. So you need to make sure that you've got all that detail worked in. So this is the uh, botanical leaf with raindrops based upon, my paper's a little wet there, based upon the photograph that I took, um, like I said, at Precious Moments Chapel in Missouri on our vacation. Hope you like this. If you would like to see more botanicals, please let me know. Um, if you aren't subscribed, and you enjoyed this, I would ask you to subscribe so you don't miss any of my future videos. Hit the notifications. You'll be notified when I upload one. Um, I'm actually going to be doing an acrylic in a week or two. I think my next one's probably going to be a landscape, but I'll show you this maybe through the community tab after I um, attach it to my panel board and cold wax it and show you what it looks like. But I hope you give it a try. If you do wish to have uh, a picture of the photo, let me know and I'll be happy to upload it to the community tab where you can give this a try. Patience, let things dry, use a scrubber, keep your lines clean, go slow. This probably took me, it's probably been a 3 hour painting, but I think it's so worth it after you finish. And I enjoyed it. I thank a couple of my subscribers who recommended doing botanicals, and I hope you give it a try and let me know how it goes. Y'all have a great evening, and I'll see you soon.